Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're exploring, well, one of the most powerful ideas I think I've come across in behavioral science recently. It's about the belief you hold about yourself.
Yeah, it's this core idea, this single thought, really. And our sources, especially looking at the research around mindsets, they suggest it guides pretty much every big decision you make.
Influences your personality, even determines maybe your potential for actually feeling fulfilled.
It really does. It's like an internal operating system. And it's surprisingly far-reaching. It shapes how you tackle challenges, whether you look for feedback, how you even read everyday situations.
So our mission in this deep dive is to unpack these two fundamental mindsets. They're called fixed and growth, and really see how they shape our reactions, to success, failure, relationships, the whole shebang.
And the origin story for this research is actually kind of cool. It started just by watching kids, watching them try to solve puzzles.
Right. The researcher, Dweck, she wasn't initially looking at ability levels or anything like that. She was just curious about how kids coped when things got hard, when they failed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she saw something totally unexpected. Some kids, when faced with puzzles that were genuinely too difficult for them right then, they didn't just cope. They actually, they seemed to enjoy it.
Enjoy failure. That sounds unusual.
Well, yeah. She describes this one 10-year-old boy who, literally pulled his chair closer, rubbed his hands together, and just grinned, saying, "I love a challenge."
Wow. That's not the typical reaction, is it? Most of us feel frustrated, maybe want to quit.
Or, I consider another kid, sweating over a tough puzzle, looks up and says completely seriously, "I was hoping this would be informative."
Informative, not "I'm failing."
Nope. They didn't see the difficulty as a judgment on who they were. They saw it as information, as learning. They were kind of the poster children for these two different mindsets.
Okay, so let's lay them out clearly for everyone listening. First up, the fixed mindset.
Right. This is the core belief that your basic qualities, intelligence, personality, talents, they're just fixed, like they're carved in stone.
So you've got what you've got, and that's it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And if that's your belief, then your main goal in life becomes proving you have a good amount of those fixed qualities. You need to validate yourself constantly. And crucially, avoid failure at all costs.
Why? Because failure means...
It means you're deficient. Permanently. Yeah. It's a direct reflection of your fixed, inadequate abilities.
Oh, that sounds stressful. What's the alternative? The growth mindset.
Yeah, the growth mindset. This is the belief that those same qualities, intelligence, talent, all that stuff, they aren't fixed at all. They can be cultivated, developed.
Practice.
Exactly. Through effort, through learning, through good strategies, through feedback, through experience. So if you're operating with this mindset, failure isn't some final verdict on your identity.
It's just data.
It's just information. It's a signpost saying, okay, maybe try this differently, or you need to learn more here. It's actually a necessary part of getting better, getting smarter.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Let's use that scenario you mentioned, the low-stakes crisis. So imagine this happens to you. You get a C+ on a midterm you really studied for.
Okay.
Then you get a parking ticket on your way home.
Ugh. Adding insult to injury.
And then later, you call your best friend and they kind of brush you off, just seem distracted or uninterested.
Okay, so individually, none of these are life-shattering disasters, just a bad run of things.
Right. But how does someone with a fixed mindset process this cluster of events?
Well, according to the research, that person often sees it as a direct measure of their worth. The internal monologue goes something like, "I'm a total failure, I'm an idiot." Even things like, "I'm slime."
Wow, that's harsh self-judgment from a C+8, a ticket, and a possibly distracted friend.
It is, because the events aren't just events, they're proof that they're fundamentally flawed or incompetent.
And if you feel like a total permanent failure, what do?
Well, often you do nothing productive. You get paralyzed. The goal isn't solving the problems anymore. Figuring the class, paying the ticket, talking to the friend.
The goal becomes...
managing the shame, avoiding feeling judged. So people reported wanting to just, stay in bed, or get drunk, or eat chocolate. Maybe even pick a fight with someone else to deflect.
So the mindset itself turns these manageable setbacks into this state of complete failure and inaction.
Exactly. Now, contrast that with the growth mindset reaction to the exact same bad day.
Okay, same C+ day, same ticket, same friend brush off. What happens here?
They tend to jump straight to diagnosis and action. The thinking is more like, okay, C+, I need to try harder in class, maybe study differently.
Practical.
Parking ticket. Annoying, gotta be more careful.
Right.
Friends seemed off. Wonder if they had a bad day. I should check in later.
So the coping mechanism is direct action.
Yeah. Pay the ticket, start thinking about new study strategies, make a plan to talk to the friend and figure things out. It's about using the information, not being defined by it.
It really shifts the focus entirely, doesn't it? From being judged to using the experience. And this difference becomes even more stark when we look at really big public failures.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about Jim Marshall, the NFL player. Famous story, he recovered a fumble, ran 66 yards. Amazing.
Except he ran the wrong way. Touchdown for the other team. On national TV.
Can you imagine? The humiliation must have been unbelievable, but what did he do?
What did he do? I'd probably want to disappear.
Well, apparently in the locker room at halftime, he consciously made a choice. He thought, essentially, I can sit here feeling sorry for myself, or I can do something about it.
And he chose.
He chose action. He used that colossal mistake as fuel, pulled himself together, and played some of the best football of his life in the second half. His team actually won, partly thanks to his playing after that huge blunder.
That's incredible resilience. He took control of the narrative almost.
He did. He used the failure. Now, contrast that with the tragic story of Bernard Loiseau, the top French chef.
Ah, yes. He committed suicide, didn't he, after, what was it, losing a couple of points in a food guide?
Yeah, he lost 2 points in the Gault Millau guide, and there were rumors he might lose one of his 3 Michelin stars. For him, operating from what seemed like a deeply fixed mindset.
That wasn't just feedback, was it?
No, it wasn't a temporary setback. It was perceived as this ultimate permanent judgment, a haunting trauma. Failure in that mindset becomes this label. You are a has-been, irreparably.
That's heartbreaking. And it really highlights the danger when failure equals identity. Which brings us to this whole idea of natural talent versus effort.
Right. This is a huge part of the mindset research. We tend to worship naturals, people who seem effortlessly brilliant.
But even the IQ test itself wasn't originally meant to be fixed, was it?
Not at all. Alfred Binet, who invented it. He designed the test specifically to identify children who weren't thriving in the Paris school system so they could get new educational programs. He fundamentally believed intelligence could be increased.
He actually said something about practice, training, and method.
Exactly. He thought those things could improve intelligence, which is, the complete opposite of how many people use IQ scores today, like some permanent brand on your forehead.
So the growth mindset challenges that directly.
Totally. It operates on the belief that anyone's true potential is basically unknown and unknowable. You just can't predict what someone might achieve with years of passion, effort, and good learning strategies.
And there's so many examples, right? People we admire now who weren't seen as anything special early on.
Tons. The sources mention Charles Darwin and Leo Tolstoy, apparently considered pretty ordinary as kids. Ben Hogan, the golf legend, described as clumsy and uncoordinated when young.
Cindy Sherman, the photographer,
failed her first photography course. It shows that talent is often just the starting point, or maybe not even apparent at the start.
The myth of the natural seems strongest in sports, though. We love the idea of the gifted athlete.
Oh, definitely. But look closer. Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player ever, got cut from his high school varsity team.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yep. And he wasn't the first or second pick in the NBA draft either. His legendary status came from, by all accounts, just relentless work, being the hardest working athlete.
And Babe Ruth. He wasn't just born hitting home runs.
Apparently not. He was inconsistent at first. Ty Cobb, another baseball great, suggested that starting as a pitcher actually helped Ruth, gave him room to experiment with hitting without the pressure. He just loved to practice, drove veterans nuts with it sometimes. That constant tinkering built his swing.
So effort wasn't a sign of weakness for them. It was the source of their strength.
Precisely. Which leads us to this weird phenomenon in school, especially with bright kids, the low effort syndrome.
Okay, explain that. Why would smart kids deliberately not try? Seems backward.
It does. But in the fixed mindset, remember, having to try hard is seen as proof you lack ability. The thinking goes, if I were really smart, this would be easy.
Oh, I see. So if they face something genuinely difficult,
rather than risk trying hard and still possibly failing, which would confirm their fear of not being naturally gifted, they just stop trying.
Yeah.
Or put in minimal effort.
They protect their ego, protect the idea that they could be brilliant if they chose to try.
Exactly. They'd rather fail because they didn't try than try hard and potentially fail because they weren't good enough. It's a defense mechanism, but obviously limits their actual learning and achievement.
That makes so much sense when you frame it that way. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. How do these mindsets play out in, say, relationships?
Well, in a fixed mindset, what do you think the ideal partner looks like?
Someone Perfect. Someone who confirms your perfection.
Bingo. Someone who puts you on a pedestal, makes you feel flawless, basically enshrined your fixed qualities. The idea is you find someone you're perfectly compatible with, and then everything should just work effortlessly.
Like magic. But relationships aren't like that, are they? Conflict is inevitable.
Right. And when that conflict happens, and the fixed mindset, it often feels like proof that the relationship itself is flawed, or that you chose the wrong person. Like, see, we're not compatible after all.
And relationship experts say that belief that compatibility means no effort is really damaging.
Hugely damaging. They call it one of the most destructive beliefs. Because the growth mindset approach understands relationships require effort. They need work, communication, learning to navigate differences.
The differences aren't a sign of failure, but an opportunity to grow together.
Exactly. It's about cultivation, not just compatibility.
Okay, let's scale this up even bigger. What about organizations? How does a leader's mindset shape a whole company culture?
Oh, it's huge. You can often see a culture of genius emerge under fixed mindset leaders, meaning the leader is focused on proving their superstar status. Think Lee Iacocca at Chrysler. Initially a hero, right? But later, sources say he surrounded himself with yes men, people who worshipped him.
And focused on short-term wins.
Yeah, things like cutting R&D, focusing on stuff that made him look good now, even if it hurt the company long-term. He stopped learning, became a non-learner. Same with someone like Chainsaw Al Dunlap, all about mass layoffs, boosting the stock quickly, mostly, it seemed, to prove his own ruthless genius.
It's all about validating the leader's fixed talent.
Right. Contrast that with growth mindset leaders who tend to foster a culture of development.
Like Darren Smith at Kimberly-Clark.
Yeah, great example. Made a huge, risky, but ultimately successful bet, shifting the company to consumer products like Huggies. But even at the peak of that success, he famously said, "I never stopped trying to be qualified for the job, always learning."
And Jack Welch at GE, he wasn't just looking for existing stars.
No, he talked about hiring for runway, the capacity for growth, for potential. He looked beyond just the resume points. And he did things like getting rid of elitist manager groups, pushing for collaboration, even making executives do community work to learn from different perspectives.
So it's about developing everyone's potential, not just celebrating the supposed geniuses.
Precisely. It's a fundamental difference in focus.
Okay, so we've seen how pervasive these mindsets are, but let's be honest, nobody is 100% one or the other, right? We're all kind of a mix.
Absolutely. That's a key point. We all have elements of both, and we can get triggered into a fixed mindset by certain situations, maybe facing criticism or a setback in an area we feel vulnerable about.
So if you want to move towards a more growth-oriented way of thinking, where do you even start?
Well, the first step is maybe a bit surprising. You actually have to acknowledge and even embrace your fixed mindset triggers. Understand when and why that fixed voice pipes up.
So don't just pretend it doesn't exist.
No, that's what Dweck calls false growth mindset. It doesn't work. You need to understand the fixed part of you first, which leads to this really practical technique.
The fixed mindset persona.
Yeah. Give that critical, scared, judgment-focused voice inside you a name. Like maybe it's Judge Judy or Critical Carl or, I don't know, Panicky Pete.
Okay, so you name it. Why does that help?
Because it separates the voice from you. It's not your core identity speaking. It's just Panicky Pete chiming in again. It gives you some distance, makes it easier to say, "Okay, Pete, I hear you, but I'm not going to listen this time." You can start to reason with it or choose a different response.
So instead of, "I'm an idiot for getting that C+E," it's, "Okay, Panicky Pete's telling me I'm an idiot, but what can I actually learn from this grade?"
Exactly. You're talking back to Pete, teaching him almost. And this isn't just like pop psychology. There's actual brain science behind this.
The brainology stuff.
Right. They did these workshops where they explicitly taught students about neuroplasticity, the fact that your brain isn't fixed, that it physically changes and grows new connections when you challenge it and learn new things.
So they learned the brain itself has a growth mindset.
Pretty much. And the kids who learned that basic science about brain growth showed a significant jump in their grades. More so than kids who were only taught, say, study skills without that underlying belief shift.
That's powerful. Knowing effort actually builds your brain. Okay, so let's boil it down. What are maybe 2 or 3 really actionable things people can start doing, like tomorrow?
Okay, number 1, change how you praise yourself and others. Stop praising innate talent or intelligence.
So no more, "You're so smart," or "You're a natural."
Yeah.
But what do you say instead? "Kid brings home a great drawing."
Focus on the process, Praise the effort, the strategies they used, their concentration, their persistence, the choices they made. So for the drawing, maybe, wow, I love how you experimented with all those different colors. Or I saw how hard you concentrated on getting those details just right.
For the math problem example.
I really liked how you kept trying different strategies until you figured it out. It validates the things they can actually control, the effort, the approach.
Okay, that makes sense. But what if the effort isn't working? What if they're just banging their head against a wall with the wrong strategy?
Great point. Then the praise shifts again. It's not just good effort. It's, okay, I see you put in amazing effort there, but that strategy didn't quite work out. What do we learn from it? What completely different approach could we try next? It keeps the focus on learning and adapting, not just raw, potentially unproductive effort.
Got it. Praise the process and the learning. What's number 2?
Embrace difficulty. See it as the sweet spot for learning. The research actually suggests that when a child or even an employee finishes something really quickly and perfectly,
You should praise them for being fast and smart.
nope. The growth mindset response is more like, whoops, okay, my mistake. That was clearly too easy for you. I apologize for wasting your time. Let's find something challenging that you can really learn from.
That feels so counterintuitive to how we usually operate. We usually want things to be easy.
I know. But easy means you're not stretching, not growing new connections. Challenge is where the learning happens. So you reframe difficulty as the goal, not something to avoid.
Okay, praise process, embrace difficulty. One more.
Make concrete plans for change. Just vowing to be more growth-minded or talk back to panicky Pete is usually useless. It's too vague.
You need specifics.
Yes, a vivid, concrete plan. If you need to have that tough conversation with your partner, don't just think, I should do that soon. Plan it. Okay, when am I going to do this? Tonight. Where? In the living room. How? Right after dinner, and I'll start by acknowledging their feelings.
So you make it specific, time, place, first step, removes the ambiguity.
Exactly. It makes the action much more likely to happen. Takes the willpower out of the equation almost.
This has been, well, incredibly illuminating. This deep dive really shows that adopting a growth mindset isn't like flipping a switch, it's a journey. But it fundamentally reframes everything.
It really does. It shifts you from constantly feeling like you're in this judge and be judged world
That sounds exhausting.
to a much more open, more liberating framework of learn and help learn. And in that space, potential that seemed impossible before suddenly becomes, well, possible, or at least worth pursuing.
It unlocks things that were genuinely unknowable under the old fixed rules.
And that applies not just to ourselves, but how we view others too, especially the people we really admire.
Which leads us perfectly into our final thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over.
Think about your heroes. Could be an athlete, an artist, a leader in business, anyone. How do you usually picture their success?
Do you see it as just natural talent, effortless accomplishment, like they were just born that way?
Or could you maybe commit to looking deeper, to discovering the likely tremendous effort, the setbacks, the strategies, the years and years of practice that actually went into their achievements?
And maybe admire them even more for that journey, for the growth, rather than just the perceived natural gift. Something to think about.